Welcome to the Explainer. When we talk about AI, we usually think about code and algorithms, right? But what if the real story is actually about people? Today, we're going to peel back the curtain, using the film Humans in the Loop as our guide, to find the hidden human systems that really make AI tick. All right, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll tackle the myth of this perfect, flawless AI. Then, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty with three big realities: cultural bias, the invisible labor force behind it all, and finally, the unequal power dynamics at play. First up, let's talk about the AI we think we know. You've seen it, right? It's the stuff of sci-fi movies and those super slick tech ads. It's the AI that promises this incredible future of seamless, perfect, intelligent automation. Seriously, when you hear the term artificial intelligence, what pops into your head? For most of us, it's something incredibly fast, super smart, almost magical, right? We're constantly being sold this picture of AI as pure, logical progress, a tool that's all about efficiency and total objectivity. And that's the big myth, isn't it? The story we're fed, especially in those shiny ads, is that AI is this clean, totally autonomous system, that it's somehow free from all our messy human biases. The idea is that technology just exists in this perfect vacuum, completely separate from society. But the reality? It's a product of our society. But of course, that's just the myth. So what happens when we actually pull back the curtain and look a little closer? Well, our first big reality check is this. AI is not a neutral system, not even close. It is deeply, fundamentally shaped by human culture. And that includes all our complexities and, you guessed it, all our flaws. In this right here is such a critical shift in how we think about this stuff. The film makes this amazing point. AI bias isn't just some bug in the code that you can patch. No, it's a mirror. It's a direct reflection of our own societal inequalities. Why? Because the algorithms are simply learning from the mountains of bias data we feed them. And that leads us to a really powerful concept called algorithmic oppression. Now, what does that mean? It's the idea that technology doesn't just passively reflect the world back at us. It can actually amplify and reinforce harmful stereotypes and existing power structures. And the scary part is, it can make those biases seem natural, or even worse, like they're backed by objective data. And look, this bias isn't just some abstract academic idea. It has very real-world consequences. We're talking about misclassifying entire communities, prioritizing dominant languages over others. Basically, AI can end up deciding who gets seen as normal and who gets pushed to the margins. These aren't just technical whoopsies. They are social and political choices that get baked right into the code. So that cultural fingerprint on AI, it leads us directly into our second reality. Because it turns out this idea of autonomous AI is, well, it's a fantasy. In fact, the whole thing is powered by a massive and mostly hidden human infrastructure. Here's the truth of it. These so-called smart systems completely depend on the constant day in, day out cognitive labor of thousands upon thousands of people all over the globe. These are the real people who are labeling data, moderating our content feeds, and doing countless tiny tasks that literally train the algorithms how to think. And what this creates is a really clear power dynamic, what some people call a knowledge hierarchy. Think about it. At the very top, you've got a small, elite group of engineers and designers. They get to decide how the entire world is categorized and labeled. And then, way down below, you have this huge workforce whose only job is to apply those labels, to fit the world into the boxes that someone else designed. Now, the crazy thing is, these workers, the ones doing the labeling, they have so much critical, real-world knowledge, but they experience something called epistemic injustice. That's a fancy way of saying their expertise is absolutely essential for the system to even work, but it's almost never acknowledged or valued. They're just treated like cogs in a machine, not as the knowledgeable people they actually are. And this invisible work, it comes at a huge human cost. I mean, just look at this quote. Many of these people are on the digital front lines, filtering out the most traumatic content imaginable to make the internet a safer place for the rest of us. But their own psychological safety? It's treated like an afterthought. Okay, and all of this brings us to our third and final reality. We have to stop thinking about AI as just a piece of software. It's not. It's a global economic system. And it's a system that has the power to crank up the volume on existing inequalities between the world's rich and poor. A huge amount of this vital data work gets outsourced to parts of the world that are economically vulnerable. This creates a massive power imbalance. In fact, some have called it a new form of colonial labor extraction, but digital. Value and data is pulled from the global south to build wealth and power for corporations in places like Silicon Valley. And this table just lays it out so clearly. Look at the split. All the celebrated innovation, the massive profits, the public credit, it all gets concentrated in a few tech hubs. But the actual human labor that makes the whole thing run, it stays invisible. And the people doing it get minimal wages and protections. So, after digging into all this, the hidden biases, the invisible workforce, the unequal power, where does that leave us? How are we supposed to think about AI differently now? What does this really mean for our relationship with all this technology? If there's one big thing to take away from all of this, it's this paradox. We hear all this talk about a post-human future, but AI is, and probably always will be, a deeply, fundamentally human project. That human in the loop isn't just some temporary patch. It's the very engine that keeps the whole thing running. And yet, the whole story we're sold, the story of seamless, effortless automation, is specifically designed to make all that human work completely disappear. The whole idea of a sleek, clean, perfect algorithm is a marketing tool that intentionally hides the messy, complicated, and absolutely essential human labor that's powering everything behind the scenes. So let's wrap up with the key things to remember. 1. AI is not neutral. It's a cultural product that soaks up our values. 2. It is not autonomous. It's completely powered by human judgment, which is often deeply undervalued. And 3, maybe most important, AI isn't just technology. It's a system of power. It's a system that reproduces who has power and who doesn't, and it decides who gets seen and how they're seen. So I want to leave you with a question to chew on. The next time you ask your smart assistant for the weather, or you're just scrolling through your perfectly personalized feed, try to pause for just a second. Look past the screen and ask yourself, whose knowledge is actually powering this? Who are the invisible people, and what are the hidden systems of power that are right now, in this moment, shaping what I see?